Capitans.
What is up, gang? Welcome back to another iceberg video. There's definitely not enough iceberg videos out there. No, it's just this one. In this video, I'm going to talk about some very spooky and insane Japanese oddities. They might not seem too obscure or spooky at first, but as we get deeper, things will get very wacky. I'm gonna be skipping the first part of the iceberg, because I'm sure you already know what anime is, and Mount Fuji, and sushi? What's sushi? Starting off this iceberg, we have Ningen. Ningen is this little, small, white man. He's a Japanese cryptid that was made up by internet users in the mid-2000s. He's described as an aquatic, humanoid, whale-like creature, supposedly inhabiting the sub-Antarctic oceans. I'm sorry, but how is that whale-like at all? Apparently this guy is quite large, with some stories claiming that the Ningen has extremely large limbs, measuring from 65 to 100 feet. Apparently he also has a large slit on his face where his mouth is, and has giant gaping eyes. The story of Ningen starts in 2012, when a bunch of bozos on 2chan claimed that some whale research ship exploring the Antarctic coast witnessed this goofy white testicle surfacing near their ship. At first, the whale researchers thought it was a submarine. After they dove off their ship to go check out the little fella, the big old goofball vanished into the waves. Another spotting of the walking nutsack occurred in 2005 when Google Earth captured what many people claim to be the Ningen near the Southern Ocean. Once again in 2010, a chemical research company from Japan uploaded a video on YouTube showing off some cool ocean life. Towards the end of the video, a creature resembling the Ningen can be seen lying on the ocean floor. I wasn't able to find the video, just trust me. Source: I made it up. Again, in the 2010s, another video was uploaded to YouTube that showed some underwater footage in an unknown location. Once again, towards the end of the video, you can see the Ningen on the ocean floor. I'm sorry, but how the fuck do people think that this is a giant albino ballsack with legs? It's just a rock with shells on it. Since then, no one's really spoken about the Ningen, and from what I can find, no other spottings have occurred. Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym used by the supposed creator of Bitcoin. With Bitcoin being as big as it is, it's pretty fair enough that people would want to know who the creator of it is. From what I can gather, this guy still remains unknown and hasn't revealed anything about himself to the public, other than the fact that he's a man living in Japan. Go search his name up on YouTube if you're interested. There's tons of videos made by people who have done hours of research to find this guy. Personally, I believe Satoshi Nakamoto is actually Bryan Cranston, but hey, it's just speculation. I'm not making any accusations. Never mind. They found him. God, I wrote this script like a month ago and it's already outdated. The term sakoku refers to the foreign policy that was put in action a very long time ago, 265 years ago, during the time of the Edo period. Just a heads up, my Japanese is awful, and I'm going to be saying a ton of Japanese words in this video, so please don't rail me if I pronounce a word like a brain-damaged 2-year-old. The sakoku policy severely limited trade between Japan and other countries, and pretty much banned most foreigners from entering Japan, while the commoners of Japan were kept from leaving the country. While Edo Japan was under sakoku, the majority of foreign trade was with the Chinese and the Dutch, and was often conducted on islands. There were many factors that led to the policy's creation, but definitely the most significant one was Japan's fear of being invaded by the West. While the nation was under sakoku, many failed attempts were made by the expanding powers in the West. Ships from America, Russia, and even France all attempted to engage with Japan, but were quickly rejected. That was until the year 1853, when an expedition came through and forced Japan to open up to America trade through a series of treaties called the Convention of Kanagawa. Honestly, with all the news about the fucking tourists in Japan right now, I would not be surprised if something like this happens again. Haruki Murakami is a very well-known Japanese author that has written a ton of novels and short stories. His books are quite successful inside and out of Japan, with the stories that he writes being known for their magical realism and surrealist take on modern culture. Haruki has a very simple writing style and often discusses topics of alienation and loneliness with great accuracy. What makes his work so successful is the way he's able to discuss relatable topics in modern society in such a surreal and thought-provoking way. I'd say the reason he's on the iceberg is due to how strange some of his books can be. For example, one of his most well-known works is titled The Elephant Vanishes and is about an elephant that keeps disappearing. This sounds very boring, well, it kinda is, but with his writing style, the simple premise is able to provoke a ton of thought within the viewer about reality and how such a large animal could vanish without leaving behind any evidence. His books definitely aren't for everyone, but if you think that sounds cool, then definitely check him out. I recommend reading his novel Norwegian Wood. It's rather epic. Date Masamune was a regional ruler of Japan's Azuchi Momoyama period through to the early Edo period, and he went on to found the modern-day city of Sendai. Being a famous tactician, he was made all the more iconic for his missing eye, as Masamune was often called Doku Ganryu, or the one-eyed dragon of Oshu. Masamune is one of the most well-known historical figures in Japan, due to, well, how cool he was. I mean, he was called the one-eyed dragon. Do I really need to elaborate? Go look at his Wikipedia page. Like, the amount of battles he was in and stuff he did is really impressive. Damn, he sounds really cool. I wonder how he died. Cancer. He died of cancer. I think we already know what this is, but if not, let me explain. According to Urban Dictionary, a weeaboo is a person who retains an unhealthy obsession with Japan and Japanese culture that sounds kinda familiar. They typically ignore or even shun their own racial and cultural identity. Okay, yeah, never mind. Many weeaboos talk in butchered Japanese with the 8 or so words they know. For example, kawaii, desu, ni-chan. While weeaboos claim to love and support Japanese culture, counterintuitively they tend to stereotype Japanese culture by how it appears in their favorite anime, which can be safely assumed to be offensive to the Japanese. Essentially, a weeaboo, or a weeb, is a person that heavily fetishizes Japan and its culture while only knowing what they know about the country from watching dubbed anime. It's also worth noting that not all people that watch anime and are interested in Japan are weeaboos, only just a large portion of them. Okunoshima is a small little inland island just near Takahata in Hiroshima Prefecture. The island is rather infamous for its large population of rabbits that run the island. Okunoshima is often referred to as Usagishima, meaning Rabbit Island. Also, a not so fun fact, the island played a huge role during the Second World War, where it held a large poison gas factory that produced the majority of the chemicals used in the chemical warfare between Japan and China. Damn, that's fun. It's a very strange island and you should definitely visit it if you ever find yourself in Hiroshima. It's very weird. You go there to pet some of the millions of rabbits on the island, while gigantic abandoned gas plants that were responsible for the painful deaths of countless Chinese soldiers are just sitting there. Within Japanese folklore, kitsune are foxes that possess paranormal abilities that increase as they get older and wiser. According to yokai folklore, there's going to be a lot of yokai on this iceberg. All foxes have the ability to shapeshift into human form. While some folktales speak of kitsune employing this ability to trick others, as foxes often do in folklore, other stories portray them as faithful guardians, friends, and even lovers. Foxes and humans lived close together in ancient Japan, and this companionship is what gave rise to these legends about the creatures. If you have watched any anime or consumed any Japanese media, it's safe to say you already know what a kitsune is. A tanuki is a Japanese raccoon dog. Within Japanese folklore, the tanuki have had a significant role since ancient times. The tanuki are known to be mischievous and jolly, masters of disguise and shape-shifting, but somewhat gullible and absent-minded. The animals are also common in Japanese art, particularly as subjects for statues. While tanuki are prominent in Japanese folklore and proverbs, they're not always clearly distinguished from other animals with a similar appearance. In local dialects, the word tanuki can refer to both raccoon dogs and also Japanese badgers. I think the reason they classify as an oddity is because of how absurd they are. Why and how does a raccoon dog exist? Kawaii future bass is a subgenre of future bass, known for its happy and strong Japanese pop culture influences. Music from the genre will often feature chiptune sounds and samples from anime or video games, percussion instruments, as well as the incorporation of door and bed squeaks. My ears, they're bleeding. This entry refers to the crazy advanced toilets that they have in Japan. Here are some of the features that you might find on your standard Japanese toilet, or as they say in German, the poopin' fartin'. On a toilet in Japan, you might find 4 different ways to flush: a handle, a pedal, a sensor, and a remote control. Also a bidet. Honestly, this should be in every single toilet. It's a tragedy that we're still using toilet paper. Some even feature toilet and sink combos. This is mainly due to the small size of most Japanese apartments, and apparently they also recycle water. Also, some of them have heated seats. It's just beautiful. For some of the more high-end Japanese toilets, you might find an air dryer, a music player, automatic flushing, glow-in-the-dark lights, a blow dryer, massage options, water jet adjustments, heating and air conditioning, just like you would find in a car, automatic lid closing and opening, a self-cleaning wand. See, that sounds cool and all, but if you take one step out of the city and use a toilet in rural Japan, there's about a 60% chance that you'll have to use a squat toilet. For how advanced toilets are in Japan, the country still has a massive amount of squat toilets for some reason. Nengo essentially means Japanese era name. Era names originated in 140 BCE in China during the reign of Emperor Wu of Han. The era system was then adopted by Japan in 640 during the reign of the Emperor Kotoku. The first era name was titled Taika. It was called Taika in order to celebrate the political changes that were flowing from the Great Taika Reform of 645. Although the regular practice of proclaiming successive era names was interrupted in the 7th century, it was permanently readopted in 701. Since then, era names have been used continuously up through to the present day. Tashirojima is a small island in Ishinomaki, Miyagi Prefecture. The island is considered to be uninhabited due to its small population of people as of 2015. Additionally, 83% of the population is classified as elderly, and the villages in the island have been designated as terminal villages, meaning that more than 50% of the population are over 65 years of age, and the survival of the village is severely threatened. The island is quite famous due to its gigantic amount of stray cats that thrive on the island, due to the locals believing that feeding the cats will bring wealth and good fortune. There's so many cats on the island that the island is mostly referred to as Nekoshima, meaning Cat Island. By 2015, the human population numbered around 80, and at the same time, the total cat population exceeded that by several hundred, with at least 150 cats permanently residing in one of the villages. Also, apparently there's a vet that travels to the island every 2 months or so to examine the cats. Also, some people call the island Manga Island. This is because a famous manga author, Shotaro Ishinomori, planned to move to the island shortly before he died. Due to this, there's a few manga-themed lodges on the island that all resemble cats. The Kojiki refers to the early Japanese chronicle of myths, legends, oral traditions, and semi-historical accounts down to the year 641 concerning the origins of the Japanese archipelago, as well as the Japanese imperial bloodline. It's claimed in its preface to have been composed by Ono Yasumaro at the request of Empress Genmei in the early 8th century, and is thus usually considered to be the oldest literary work in Japan. The myths contained in the Kojiki are part of the inspiration behind many practices of the Shinto religion. Kojiki plays a massive role in Japan's society, and certain practices and beliefs outlined in the writings are still present in modern Japan. This entry refers to the numerous internet image boards that have originated from Japan. These image boards include 2chan, Futaba channel, as well as the many clones of these boards that have been created, such as 4chan. As you can guess, these image boards are also the source of a ton of internet culture in both Japan and across the world. Umami is a Japanese word and concept that describes the savoriness of food and is one of the 5 basic tastes. The word basically means savory and is a characteristic of both broths and cooked meat. Originating from Japanese, umami can be translated as pleasant, savory taste. The word was coined in 1908 and stemmed from the word umai, meaning delicious. While scientists have debated the existence of umami since it was discovered, the word is mostly used as a reference to describe how savory food can activate certain taste receptors. Some foods that have a strong umami flavor include meats, shellfish, fish, tomatoes, soy sauce, mushrooms, and a ton more. Oh boy. Maid cafes are a subcategory of cosplay restaurants found predominantly in Japan. In these cafes, waitresses dressed in maid costumes act as servants and treat customers as masters in a private home rather than as cafe patrons. You cannot change my mind that maid cafes are a sexual thing. The first ever maid cafe was Kyurei Maid Cafe, established in Akihabara, Tokyo, 2001. But since then, maid cafes have become wildly popular. As they have become more well known, the increased competition has made use of some unusual tactics in order to attract customers. I honestly don't get them at all. I think it's just perverted and creepy. Despite that though, there's definitely a large audience. Reiki is a Japanese form of energy healing and is also a type of alternate medicine. Reiki practitioners use a technique called palm healing or hands-on healing, through which a universal energy is said to be transferred through the palms of the practitioner to the patient in order to encourage emotional or physical healing. Reiki is a pseudoscience and is often used as an illustrative example of pseudoscience in scholarly text and academic journals. The whole concept is based around Qi, which practitioners say is a universal life force, although there's no empirical evidence that such a life force exists. As you might guess, clinical research does not show Reiki to be effective at all. Do not use palm healing to cure your cancer-ridden grandfather. Take him to a hospital. So far we've talked about an island inhabited by rabbits and an island inhabited by cats, and now we have a village inhabited by foxes. Miyagi-Shao Fox Village, also known as Kitsune Mura, is a tourist attraction and sanctuary for foxes in Shiroshi, Miyagi, the same prefecture as the Cat Island. The village's main exhibit is an open area where foxes roam around and visitors can enter to interact with them and feed them, although attempting to pet or hand feed the foxes is not advised as they may bite. The village contains over 100 foxes, including typical red and Arctic foxes, foxes with uncommon coat colors such as silver and platinum foxes, and red Arctic fox hybrids. The village also has rabbits, miniature horses, goats, and guinea pigs, in addition to gift and snack shops. While the village has been dubbed the cutest place on earth, it's also received criticism due to the high density of the foxes, which are normally solitary or live in small groups. Foxes kept in cages, frequent fox fights, and a perceived lack of greenery. Also, allegedly poor sanitation. Epic. Jigokodani Monkey Park is located in Yamanouchi, Nagano Prefecture, and is located in the valley of the Yokoyu River in the northern part of the prefecture. The name Jigokudani, meaning Hell's Valley, is due to the steam and boiling water that bubbles out of the small crevices in the frozen ground. The place is famous for its large population of wild Japanese macaques, more commonly referred to as snow monkeys, that go to the valley during winter. These monkeys descend from the steep cliffs in the forest to chill in the warm water in the off springs. Just look at this guy. My dude is vibing. This place is heaven. There is no better place on earth than the monkey park. When I die, I hope I get resurrected as one of these monkeys. This next entry is not as cool as snow monkeys and is a bit spooky. Username 666 is a video creepypasta created by Nana825763. The video shows what happens when a person searches for the username 666 on YouTube and refreshes the page a few times. This creepypasta has also created a few rumors, one of which is that the original 666 account contained a virus that changed all texts into sixes. This video really creeped me out the first time I saw it back in the day, mostly because of the holes. Oh my god, the holes. The Japanese creator of the video, Nana, is super underrated and has a ton of bangers on their channel. Definitely go check out his video called House Walkthrough. It's honestly one of the best videos ever uploaded to YouTube. This entry refers to the very brief time in history when Korea was ruled as part of the Japanese Empire from 1910 to 1945. With the Japanese-Korea Treaty of 1876, Korea had entered into Japan's sphere of influence with a complex coalition of the Japanese Meiji government, military, and business officials began the process of integrating Korea's politics and economy with Japan. The Korean Empire then proclaimed in 1897 that they would become a protectorate of Japan with the Japan-Korea Treaty of 1905. Thereafter, Japan ruled the country indirectly through the Japanese Resident General of Korea. Japanese rule over Korea ended in September of 1945 with the surrender of Japan in World War II. The armed forces of the United States and the Soviet Union then occupied the region afterwards. The shamisen, or as I like to call it, the best instrument created by man, is a three-stringed traditional Japanese musical instrument derived from the Chinese instrument, the sanxian. I don't know if I said that right. The build of a shamisen is similar to that of a guitar or a banjo, with a neck and strings stretched across the body. The neck of the shamisen is fretless and is slimmer than the neck of a guitar or a banjo. The skin used and the shape of the instrument depends on the genre of music, as well as the skill of the player. They just sound so good. No matter how they're played, they sound so good. The term gaijin is the Japanese word for foreigners and non-Japanese citizens in Japan, specifically being applied to foreigners of non-Japanese ethnicity and those from Japanese ethnicity but who are not Japanese citizens. Some feel the word has come to have a negative connotation, while others maintain the stance that it is a neutral term. Masabumi Hosono was a Japanese citizen who survived the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. However, after doing so, he found himself condemned and ostracized by the Japanese public, as well as the government. During the night of the Titanic disaster, he was woken up by a steward. However, he was blocked from going to the Titanic's boat deck, from which lifeboats were already being launched. He eventually made his way past the obstruction and made his way to the boat deck, where he saw that emergency flares were being fired. Hosono saw 4 lifeboats being launched as he contemplated the prospect of an imminent death. As the number of lifeboats remaining diminished rapidly, he made the decision to get in one and survive. Once he returned to his home country of Japan, he was condemned as a coward by the nation and lost his job, family, and friends. The reason for this was because the Japan saw that he betrayed the samurai spirit of self-sacrifice. The story is kinda dumb. I get the Bushido code is important and honor is important, but the guy had an option to either die or live, and he chose to live. I'm willing to bet that the majority of people that condemned him would have done the same thing in his position. Kinda cringe. Yaiba refers to the Japanese phenomenon of the attraction to messed up teeth. In Japan, Yaiba mostly refers to a tooth overlapping another tooth or protruding from higher in the gum. For some reason that modern scientists still cannot determine, in Japan this feature is perceived as a sign of youthfulness and natural beauty. The look became so popular that in 2013 it became a trend for teenage girls to undergo a dental procedure to cap their upper canines. I don't really know what to say. How could you find a British person's smile attractive? I just don't get it. A Mongolian spot is a flat birthmark with wavy borders and an irregular shape. In 1883, it was named after Mongolians by this German anthropologist based in Japan, who believed it to be most common among his Mongolian patients. Apparently, the spot normally disappears 3 to 5 years after birth. That's interesting stuff. When Pokemon finally went back on air in April 1998, 4 months after the infamous Electric Soldier Porygon incident, you know, the one that gave seizures to a bunch of kids across Japan, the animators edited the previous 37 episodes, slowed down the flashing lights, and never aired the original versions of the episodes ever again, despite no previous reports of the previous episodes causing seizures for anyone. Many people thought that the original broadcast was lost, but despite popular belief, it's been available commercially to the public since 1997. In 1997, Shogakukan released Pocket Monsters Volume 1 and Pocket Monsters Volume 2 as the first in the rental-only VHS line. These tapes were available to rent for just under a month before the Electric Soldier Porygon incident took place, and thus contain the original broadcasted versions of the first 6 episodes. Marine Kong, nothing to do with King Kong, is a kaiju show that ran for 2 13-episode chapters in 1960. The show was only shown in Japan and, according to Wikipedia, was quite popular, but for some reason no copy of an entire episode has surfaced, even though it had a partial VHS release in 1984. To this day, a 6-minute video with a few Marine Kong clips, which has now been privated, a full 30-second clip, the ending of one of the episodes, and a few screenshots and posters are all that are available. You definitely know what Nightcore is, but if you somehow don't, a Nightcore edit is a version of a track that increases the pitch and speeds up its source material by approximately 35%. Nightcore started in the 2000s, but really had a popularity surge in the 2010s, with the viral song Rockefeller Street being released. After that, countless anime songs and intros have been subjected to Nightcore, and more recently, songs in rap and pop culture have also been faced with Nightcore on platforms such as TikTok. I do agree that on some songs, Nightcore works really well, but the majority of Nightcore songs make me want to drive into a tree at 200 kilometers per hour. Now I don't consider myself a degenerate or a weeaboo, but goddamn do I love me some Hatsune Miku. Vocaloid is a singing voice synthesizer software that can be used to create some absolute banger songs. The way you make music with Vocaloid is by typing in lyrics and a melody, and bam, you have a Vocaloid song. The use of the software became insanely popular in Japan with the release of the Hatsune Miku Vocaloid software. With the use of the video sharing site Nico Nico and the Hatsune Miku Vocaloid, the popularity of Vocaloid music skyrocketed in Japan. Since then, it's only continued to grow and is still very relevant in Japanese pop culture. If you walk into any music store in Japan today, it's quite certain you'll see a wall that's aligned with Vocaloid CDs. We are now at tier 3. The entries in this tier are a lot more obscure than the entries in the last tier. While a lot of it is still common knowledge, some entries are quite wacky and bizarre. A Shin-Nagami is a term from Japanese folklore that translates to either death god or death spirit. The Shin-Nagami will often be depicted as supernatural beings that are responsible for guiding souls to the afterlife, or in some cases causing death. They're often shown to have dark and spooky appearances that really emit that feeling of death. If you've watched Death Note, then yeah, you know what a Shin-Nagami is. Oh my god, no way. I'm on the iceberg. That's crazy. A kappa is yet another creature that stems from folklore. The kappa is a humanoid turtle with a beak for a mouth and a turtle shell on its back. Based on the extensive kappa lore, these mad lads were believed to inhabit rivers, lakes, and ponds all across Japan. They're also known to be a little bit quirky and mischievous, and sometimes even malicious. Despite their goofy and mischievous nature, they're also known to be quite polite and respectful to humans if they treat them with respect. But sometimes these guys are also viewed as a threat, being seen drowning humans and animals, especially horses for some reason. In fact, they drown horses so much that sometimes they're titled steed or horse pullers. Also, they kidnap women and children. Wow, what a wonderful creature to base my online personality around. Very epic. Bosozoku is a Japanese subculture that emerged in the 50s and peaked in the 70s and 80s. The term translates to reckless tribe or violent running tribe. The members of this movement were most often associated with motorbike gangs and were known for their distinct style, rebellious behavior, and very loud, customized motorbikes. Groups would typically engage in activities such as riding in large groups late at night through urban areas, making a ton of noise with their bikes and waking people up. This entry refers to the large population of Brazilian citizens that are of Japanese descent. Back in 1908, a large group of Japanese immigrants arrived in Brazil. This was due to the poverty crisis in rural areas at the end of feudalism in Japan. Due to this widespread poverty, many Japanese citizens began to immigrate with the hope of finding better living conditions. In 1907, the Brazilian and Japanese governments signed a treaty allowing for the Japanese to migrate to Brazil. This also helped out Brazil, as they were suffering labor shortages following the abolishment of slavery. Nowadays, Brazil is still home to the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. Karafuto refers to a part of land located here on the Sakhalin Island that used to be a prefecture of Japan. After the Russo-Japanese War in 1905, Karafuto became a territory of the Japanese Empire, and in 1907 it was established as an external territory up until 1943 when it was upgraded to an inner land territory. The prefecture was going steady up until August of 1945 when the Japanese administration there ceased to function following the invasion of the Soviet Union. Michio Kaku is a Japanese scientist that was born in America in 1947. Kaku is most well known for his significant contributions to theoretical physics, specifically his popularization of string theory, a theoretical framework that explains forces and particles in the universe. Kaku has written quite a large number of books that are aimed at both casual and scientific readers, in which he explores concepts such as reality and space exploration. Kaku has gained quite a bit of popularity due to his frequent appearances on TV shows and documentaries where he discusses scientific topics. The guy is, he's basically Japanese Bill Nye. The term ikebana refers to the Japanese art of arranging flowers. The art involves arranging flower branches and leaves in an elegant and minimalistic manner, often in a flower pot or specific container. The goal of ikebana is to express emotions and capture the beauty of nature through the arrangement of flowers. Mokuhanga refers to the traditional Japanese technique of wood block printing. The technique involves carving images into wooden blocks, applying ink to the blocks, then transferring the image onto a sheet of paper. Being originally invented in China during the Tang Dynasty, the practice was eventually adopted by Japan during the Edo period. Nihonium is a synthetic chemical element with the symbol NH and the atomic number 113. The chemical was first made in 2003 by Japanese scientists. Apparently the material is highly radioactive and is classified as a metal. As you might guess, the word nihonium comes from the word Nihon, which means Japan. The term wa is speculated to be the oldest name for Japan. I didn't know this, but Japan has had a ton of different names throughout history. The word was apparently used by Chinese and Korean scribes to refer to Japan and its inhabitants. Apparently the word was first used to describe inhabitants of East China, but as time passed, the word was restricted to describing Japan. Wajing is a term that was used in ancient East Asia to describe the indigenous people of Japan. It's a combination of the word wa, from the last entry, and the word jin, which means people from a certain area. Like the last entry, the term originates from Chinese text, where it was used to describe the inhabitants of Japan. The word apparently translates to dwarf, or short-statured people, reflecting the view that China had on Japan at the time. That's very based, China. Meson refers to a subatomic particle that is made up of one quark and one antiquark that are both bound to each other via a strong nuclear force. Mesons were first thought by Hideki Yukawa in 1935 as the particles that are responsible for the strong nuclear force that binds protons and neutrons together in atomic nuclei. This iceberg is ordered in quite a strange way. We go from talking about a subatomic particle to talking about the Bushido code. Very cool. The term Bushido translates to Code of the Samurai, or Way of the Warrior. If you have consumed any samurai media, then you most likely already know all about this. Bushido is a code of conduct and ethical principles that govern the behavior and mindset of the samurai warrior class in feudal Japan. The Bushido emphasizes loyalty, honor, self-discipline, courage, and respect for others. The principles of Bushido were influenced by Confucianism, Zen Buddhism, and Shintoism, among other religious traditions. While it's a common belief that every samurai followed this code to the T, in actuality the code was very loose. Not everyone followed it. The term Kirishitan, as you may guess, translates to Christian and is used in Japanese texts as a historiographic term for Catholics in Japan in the 16th and 17th centuries. The term Kirishitan is derived from the Portuguese word Cristão, I don't know if that's how you say it, which was used by the Portuguese missionaries who first arrived in Japan in the mid-1500s. Today, the term is primarily used in historical context to refer to the early Christian presence in Japan. However, there are still some communities in Japan that identify as Kirishitan and preserve elements from their Christian heritage. The Russo-Japanese War was a conflict between Russia and Japan, primarily over territorial ambitions in East Asia. Fought mainly on land and at sea, the war contained quite a lot of significant battles, including the naval battle of Tsushima. Japan's unexpected victory over Russia shattered Europe's perceptions of the Asian military prowess. The war eventually ended, granting Japan some territorial gains and establishing its status as a major power, all while humiliating Russia. The Emishi were the indigenous people who lived in the region that is now known as Tohoku. Their people had a distinct culture and language and were known for their resistance to the Japanese imperial expansion. While the Emishi fought in the Emishi Wars in order to remain independent, the Emishi were gradually combined into Japanese society through a combination of military campaigns and diplomatic efforts. Capcom. You know what Capcom is. Why is it so far down in the iceberg? I have no idea. Nekomata is a mythical creature from Japanese folklore that is often depicted as a cat with two tails. Nekomata are said to inhabit forests and mountains, and are known for their mischievous and sometimes malevolent behavior. These complete arseholes are known to appear in villages, attack a ton of people for no reason, and then leave. There's a lot of speculation on whether or not the Nekomata is a cat monster or just a beast with rabies. Back in the day, people were said to have suffered from the Nekomata disease, so it's likely that the legend stems from animals with rabies attacking people. Katakuri refers to a type of traditional Japanese puppet that is typically created with intricate clockwork mechanisms. These terrifying robot puppets were made from the 17th century through to the 19th century and were used as a form of entertainment, being used to serve tea and play musical instruments. I don't know about you, but these guys are fucking terrifying. There is no fucking way I would take a cup of tea from this bald motherfucker. This entry refers to the numerous invasions on Japan that were launched by the Mongols. There were two major campaigns launched by the Mongol Empire that were both led by Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan. Each time, the Mongols attempted to conquer Japan, but both invasions failed due to a combination of samurai defenses, weather conditions, and the insane resilience of the Japanese people. The Mongol invasions are quite significant events in Japanese history, and contributed to shaping the Japanese identity and military in the centuries to follow. This entry refers to the wako, which directly translates to Japanese pirates. The wako were pirates that raided the coastal areas of East Asia during the 14th to the 16th century. The wako would mainly target merchant ships and coastal villages, causing severe disruptions to the marine time trade, as well as to local communities. While some wako were your standard Japanese outlaws, some of them were disgruntled samurai or mercenaries seeking adventure and wealth. Eventually, the Japanese, Korean, and Chinese military shut them down. Tanabata is a traditional Japanese festival that is celebrated every year on July 7th and is based on the Chinese Quashii festival. The festival commemorates the meeting of the two deities, Orihime and Hikoboshi, who are separated by the Milky Way and are allowed to meet only once a year on July 7th. During the festival, Tanabata goers write their wishes on pieces of paper called tanzaku and hang them on bamboo branches for them to come true. What a wholesome and lovely entry to follow Mongolian invasions and Japanese pirates. I'm gonna completely butcher this. Richard von Kordehov-Kalergi was an Austrian/Japanese politician, philosopher, and count, best known as the founder of the Pan-European Union. The guy envisioned a unified Europe that would prevent future conflicts through economic and political cooperation. He also advocated for cultural and racial integration, promoting a vision of a diverse and inclusive Europe. His efforts earned him the title, the Father of Europe. I guess he's on the iceberg because he's half Japanese. The Kuril Islands are a chain of volcanic islands stretching northeast from Hokkaido, Japan to the southern tip of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. The islands have been subject to a territorial dispute between Japan and Russia since the end of World War II, and the dispute has hindered full diplomatic relations between the two countries. This entry refers to the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency's mission to study the potential for life to survive in the harsh conditions of space. The Tanpopo mission involves exposing microorganisms to the extreme environment of low Earth orbit by studying the effects that space radiation, the space vacuum, and microgravity has on these microorganisms. The agency hopes to gain knowledge on the potential for life to survive in space. The Mariko Aoki phenomenon is an insane phenomenon that is experienced by some individuals when they visit bookstores. Named after the Japanese essayist Mariko Aoki, it describes the sudden urge to take a shit after entering a bookstore. To this day, the reasoning behind this remains a mystery, with theories ranging from the chemical composition of paper and ink to psychological associations with relaxation and browsing. I honestly refuse to believe this is a real thing. Until the day I walk into a Barnes & Noble and I shit my pants violently, I'm not gonna believe this. Whoa, we are in tier 4. Most of the shit in this tier I have not heard of. It's all very haha funny. Some of it's a little uh-oh spooky. Let's just jump into it. Masaru Emoto is another Japanese author and researcher that is best known for his work on the effects humans have on water. Emoto would conduct experiments that would involve exposing water to various different emotions, words, and pieces of music. He would then freeze the water to examine the resulting crystal formations under a microscope. According to his findings, positive words would produce beautiful symmetrical crystals, while negative words would produce distorted and ugly crystals. After taking a look at his book, The Hidden Messages in Water, I gotta say it's quite freaky. There's definitely something going on with water that we don't know about. It's worth noting that this guy's work is quite controversial and is criticized by the scientific community. Apparently his methodology wasn't up to standard or something. This entry refers to the term Godai, which is a Japanese Buddhist concept meaning 5 great elements. The concept is often used to describe the basic building blocks of the universe in regards to Buddhist cosmology. The 5 elements consist of earth, water, fire, wind, and void. You had me up until void. The Yonaguni Monument is a submerged rock formation off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Okinawa Prefecture, being discovered in 1987. The formation consists of a ton of large angular rocks and stones that appear to be arranged in a manner that suggests human intervention. Some claim that the monument may be a man-made structure made thousands of years ago, while most argue that it's a natural formation made from erosion and tectonic activity. The term Ainu refers to the indigenous people of Japan. The Ainu primarily reside in the northernmost regions of Hokkaido, as well as in certain parts of the Sakhalin and Kuril Islands. The Ainu have quite a distinct culture, language, and history that is separate from the ethnic Japanese population. The Ainu were hunter-gatherers and fishermen, known for their deep spiritual connection to nature and animalistic beliefs. Unfortunately, after years of discrimination and forced assimilation policies, the Ainu people were forced off their land, and in turn, they were forced to give up their ways of life. The Ainu people were restricted from practicing their religion and were pushed into Japanese language schools. According to a study from 2008, only about 100 native Ainu speakers remained at the time. Fortunately, in recent years, there have been a few efforts made to restore the Ainu language in order to prevent it from becoming lost. The Ishi no Hoden refers to a prehistoric stone monument located in Hyogo Prefecture. The megalithic structure is made up of a large rock with a pointy curb sticking out of the side. To this day, the date the structure was made and by who and for what purpose still remains a complete mystery. Some people think the rock was made for rituals, and some think it was made for marking astronomical events. Most likely, we will never find out what it is. I have no idea why this is down so far. Hikikomori is a Japanese term that refers to the social phenomenon characterized by extreme social withdrawal and isolation, particularly among young adults and adolescents. Individuals who are hikikomori typically confine themselves to their homes for extended periods, avoiding social interactions and responsibilities such as work or school. With the rise of social media and technology, the number of hikikomoris are still rising. We truly live in a society. Miyamoto Musashi was a legendary Japanese swordsman, philosopher, strategist, and writer that lived during the early Edo period. He became rather renowned through the stories of his unique double-bladed swordsmanship and undefeated record in his total of 61 duels. Due to this, he's widely regarded as one of the greatest swordsmen in Japanese history. He would eventually go on to write the Book of Five Rings, which is a classic piece of writing on martial arts, strategy, philosophy, and tactics, which is still studied by martial artists across the world. This entry refers to the Japanese legend of Satoru-kun. According to this legend, Satoru-kun is a Japanese spirit, ghost, or a demon who appears in the form of a young boy. He apparently knows everything about the past, present, and future, and can answer any question that is asked. In order to summon Satoru-kun, the participant must perform the following ritual. Insert money into a public phone box, dial your own phone number, then repeat a chant, asking Satoru-kun to show himself. After the chant is done, you then hang up the payphone and turn your mobile phone completely off. Then within 24 hours, you will receive a phone call from the spirit. When he calls, he will say, "I am behind you now." You are then able to ask the spirit any question you want. Like with any urban legend, it's not that easy. There's a ton of rules you gotta follow. You can't just turn around and look at him. You can't just touch him. You need to have a question ready, and you must ask it immediately. If you decide to break any of those rules, the spirit will take your life and drag you down to hell. Epic. Kotodama, meaning word spirit or soul of language, is the Japanese belief that certain words contain spiritual power or energy. According to the belief, the words one speaks have the power to influence the world around them, as well as their own thoughts, emotions, and well-being. The belief is deeply rooted in folklore as well as Shintoism. It emphasizes the importance of choosing one's words carefully and speaking with sincerity, kindness, and respect. It's also associated with incantations, chants, and prayers, which are believed to harness the spiritual energy of words for various purposes. Kuchisake Onna, meaning slit-mouthed woman, is another Japanese urban legend. According to the legend, Kuchisake Onna is a malicious spirit of a woman who wears a mask to conceal her disfigured mouth, which has been cut open from ear to ear. The spirit is said to roam the streets at night, approaching unsuspecting victims, most often children. The spirit will ask its victim if they think she's pretty. If the victim says no, she will then either kill them on the spot with a pair of giant medical scissors, or she will wait until late at night and take them in their sleep. If the victim says yes, she will then take her mask off and reveal her disfigured mouth. She will then repeat the question. If they say no, she kills them. If they say yes, she cuts the corners of the victim's mouth in such a way that resembles her own disfigurement. Lovely. Apparently you can survive this encounter by saying she looks average, or by distracting her with money or candy. Although the urban legend originates from the Edo period, it had a bit of a resurgence in the 70s, leading to newspapers and magazines reporting on cases of missing children in regards to the spirit. This led to children across the country being accompanied by groups of adults while walking home from school. I guess Japan doesn't take that shit lightly. Misasa is a town located in Tottori Prefecture, near the coast of the Sea of Japan. For the most part, Misasa is a spa resort boasting springs of radium-rich water, exhausting radon and radioactive gas. I don't know about all of you, but when I see a pool of radon-infested water, the first thought I have is to bathe in it. Locals believe that bathing oneself in such waters can be good for one's health. Kagami mochi is a traditional Japanese New Year decoration that is made from mochi. It typically consists of 2 round mochi cakes, one placed on top of the other, with a small citrus fruit called a dai placed on top. It's often displayed in homes and businesses during the New Year period, symbolizing good luck, prosperity, and the passing of the old year into the new. After the New Year celebrations, the Kagami mochi is usually broken apart and eaten as a part of the festivities. The Teke Teke is another urban legend about some creepy ghost girl. I actually spoke all about her in my Disturbing Things from Japan video. Rest in peace, that short-lived series. If you haven't seen it, which you most likely haven't, the Teke Teke is the ghost of a girl that was killed in a train accident that severed her body at the waist. Amazing. The legend tells that the ghost appears at night, often near train stations, dragging herself around on the floor. She's said to chase people walking by at insane speeds. Once she catches you, she's gonna slice you in half with a scythe. Wow. A yuzu bath is a traditional Japanese bathing ritual that involves soaking in a bathtub filled with warm water, as well as yuzu citrus fruit, a fruit that is native to East Asia, resembling a small grapefruit. It's quite popular in winter, with it being a custom to sit in a yuzu bath on the winter solstice. Apparently, the vitamin C from the fruit is meant to have benefits on the skin, as well as boost one's immune system. Why is this down so far? We've already discussed a ton of yokai, so you'd think, this entry would be higher. You most likely already know, but a yokai refers to a supernatural creature or spirit originating from Japanese folklore. Most of the urban legends and folklore creatures that I've explained so far all fall under the title of a yokai. Also, Yokai Watch, that show fucking blows. Bon or Obon is a custom stemming from the Japanese belief in ancestral spirits and a Japanese Buddhist custom to honor the spirits of one's ancestors. How my ancestors be looking down on me as I enter the 14th hour of my gooning session. The custom is held each year in mid-August and is a time for families to gather to pay respect for their deceased relatives. During Bon, it's believed that ancestral spirits return to visit their homes. Due to this, families will often make sure their homes are clean, set up shrines, and offer food and flowers to welcome home the spirits. Sanya refers to a district in Tokyo that is historically known for its day laborer population and labor-intensive industries. The district has a reputation as a working-class neighborhood and used to be considered one of Tokyo's poorest areas. Day laborers, known as sankyo, gathered in Sanya seeking employment in construction, manufacturing, and other manual labor sectors. Over the past years, Sanya has undergone some massive changes, and the living conditions there are a big improvement to what they used to be. The Rashomon effect is a term that refers to the phenomenon where multiple witnesses provide conflicting, contradictory accounts of the same event. The term comes from Akira Kurosawa's 1950 film, Rashomon. In the movie, the narrative unfolds through the perspectives of several characters who recount their versions of a crime and subsequent trial. Each retelling presents a different interpretation of the truth, leading to ambiguity and uncertainty about what actually happened. Soka Gakkai refers to the Japanese Buddhist movement that was founded in 1930. The organization is part of the larger Nichiren Buddhism tradition, following the teachings of the 13th century Japanese Buddhist monk Nichiren. Soka Gakkai promotes the practice of chanting the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo as a means of achieving personal enlightenment and happiness. In recent years, the movement has spread globally and now contains a few million members. Bake Neko is another type of cat creature from Japanese folklore. The Bake Neko is quite similar to the Nekomata, another cat-like creature from the last tier. The biggest difference between the two is that the Bake Neko has two tails, while the Nekomata has only one. According to folklore, when a cat has lived for a long amount of time, or has been mistreated by their owner, the cat has a chance to turn into a Bake Neko. Like most yokai, this guy is a total dick and is known to give people illnesses and straight up kill people. Also, they can shapeshift and pose as humans. Epic. This entry refers to the notion that groupism is deeply rooted within Japanese society. The term groupism refers to favoring a particular group's interest over others, often leading to bias or discrimination. Identity and well-being is a core principle in Japanese culture, where an individual's well-being and sense of security is maximized as a result of recognition and prosperity they get as a group. Overall, groupism is used as a way of describing the insane productivity and herd mentality that is present within Japan. The Kamuisaurus is a species of herbivorous dinosaur that was discovered in Japan in 2003. Apparently, the dinosaur lived during the late Cretaceous period, approximately 72 million years ago. The big fella was about 8 meters long and weighed about 4 tons. This guy looks really funny looking. He looks like something that was made in the Spore character creator. Why is my dog artistic? Onnamusha is a term that's used to refer to female warriors in feudal Japan, directly translating to female warrior. These women were a part of the warrior societal class in Japan, and were trained to use weapons in order to protect their home and family during times of war. There's a ton of examples of Onnamusha that all did really cool shit. One example is Nakano Takeko from the Aizu clan. During the Japanese Civil War in 1868, she led a huge military group of female warriors to fight against a total of 20,000 soldiers, which is pretty fucking insane. Fucking girl boss moment. The Japanese magic mirror refers to a type of artifact that was produced in ancient China and Japan. These mirrors were made from cast bronze and would be polished a ton so that they would produce a faithful reflection of the objects in front of them. However, on the other side of the mirror, there would be a modeled drawing, either a landscape or an inscription. The reason these mirrors were dubbed as magic was due to the fact that when strong light, such as a sunbeam, would hit the front of the mirror, the light would reflect on the wall behind it, and the image on the back of the mirror would be projected. I don't know why they didn't use this concept to make other shit. It's pretty epic. Sakhalin is another island that's close to Japan and has been mentioned quite a lot so far. The island is in the North Pacific Ocean and is located north of Japan and east of Russia. The island was home to the Kadafuto prefecture that was its own entry on the iceberg a while ago. To recap what I said earlier, both Russia and Japan fought over the island, resulting in the Russo-Japanese War in 1905. After the war, both groups signed the Treaty of Portsmouth, giving the southern part of the island to Japan while giving the north to Russia. All was good until World War II, when the Soviet Union seized control of the whole island. To this day, no final resolution has been reached, and Sakhalin still undergoes territorial disputes, remaining a point of contention between Japan and Russia. Ikigai, or a reason for being in English, is a Japanese concept that refers to something that gives a person a sense of purpose and reason to live. Discovering one's Ikigai involves identifying one's passions, talents, values, and opportunities that they can use to contribute to society. The point of it is to find fulfillment and purpose in life by aligning your personal interests with meaningful work or activities. For me, my Ikigai is definitely game development and gooning. I love gooning. Ikidio, meaning living ghost, refers to a disembodied spirit or ghost that leaves the body of a living person and haunts other people or places. The term is used as the opposite of shirio, which refers to the spirit of someone who is already deceased. If you know about astral projection, well, Ikidio is kinda like that. In folklore, they're often seen using their spirit form to act out vengeance, cursing and causing harm to certain individuals. Once again, based. Yaobikuni is another yokai from Japanese folklore. The Yaobikuni is a woman that gained immortality by eating the flesh of either a mermaid or a kappa. That's pretty hot. As a result, the woman ceased to age and now possesses supernatural powers. The Yaobikuni is often depicted as a nun or Buddhist priestess, as she's said to have spent centuries wandering the countryside, offering spiritual guidance and performing miracles. She's associated with tales of compassion, wisdom, and the fleeting nature of human existence. If she's such a great person, then why the fuck is she eating mythical water creatures? That's racist. Ohaguro refers to the traditional Japanese custom of dyeing one's teeth to the color black. Historically, it was done mainly by women that were married, and was meant to be a sign of beauty, maturity, and marital status. To get the effect, they would apply a black dye to their teeth made from iron and vinegar, making the teeth glossy as well as black. Due to Western influence around the time of the Meiji period, beauty standards started to drastically change, and the custom was lost to time. Honestly, I can see why. No offense to ancient Japanese women or anything, but it kinda makes you look like a chain smoker. We have now reached tier 5. We are getting deeper and deeper into the obscure shit. This stuff is insane. Actually insane. Actually crazy. It's unbelievable. Oh my god. I'm cum. Starting off tier 5, we have Utsurobune. Utsurebune, meaning hollow boat, was an unknown object that allegedly washed up on a beach in eastern Japan in 1803. According to the several accounts of the incident, a young lady aged between 18 and 20 was inside of the hollow boat. Some fishermen brought her to a nearby town, but for some reason she wasn't able to communicate in Japanese. The fishermen, fed up with her lack of communication skills, returned her and the boat to sea, where she drifted away. To this day, it is unknown where the fuck the boat and the lady inside went or where they came from. Due to the strange shape of the boat, some believe that the story is evidence of an encounter with extraterrestrial life. I mean, personally, I think it was just someone from a nearby island or something, but hey, believe what you want. Techno-animism refers to the practice in which technology is imbued with humans and spiritual characteristics. The practice leads to the belief that technology, humanity, and religion can be integrated as one entity. The practice stems from the Shinto religion, where instilling human and spiritual characteristics into physical objects has always been a thing. This concept can be displayed in several different ways, such as treating electronic devices with care and respect, or by attributing human-like qualities to robots and artificial intelligence. Buckle in, this is a rabbit hole. John Zegras is the supposed name of a man that was detained in 1960 in Japan for the crime of document fabrication. In 1955, John and his wife, who was Korean, entered Japan, and 3 months later they were arrested by Tokyo police under the suspicion of identity fraud. John had tried to cash a 200,000 yen traveler's check at the Japanese Bank of Korea. Although his passport contained the stamps of Japanese embassies in different East Asian countries, his passport was determined to be a counterfeit. On August 1960, John was found guilty and sentenced to a year in prison. After John was released, he was deported to Hong Kong, and his wife was deported to South Korea. Cool. So why the fuck is this random guy on the iceberg? Well, this case was later mentioned in the 1960 issue of The Province, a Canadian newspaper. According to the newspaper, John claimed to be an Ethiopian and an intelligence agent and carried a passport issued at Tamanrasset, the capital of Taured, south of the Sahara. Most likely the name Taured is a misspelling of the name Tuareg, a real country in the same location. Why the fuck a tabloid would make this shit up, I have no fucking clue. Later in 1964, author Jacques Bergier would mention this case in some of his books, further extending the bullshit and lies. According to his telling of the case, a person from Taured, a country in Eastern Africa, was arrested in 1954 in Japan during a passport check, and when he was put into a psychiatric hospital, he revealed that he was there to buy arms for the Arab Legion. Since then, the story has been even further changed on various Japanese websites dedicated to urban legends, saying that the man came from another dimension. Apparently, he had a passport from a fictional country named Taured, and when asked where his nation was located on a map, he pointed at a Liberian province named Andorra, but he was confused as he had never heard of the place. He was then put into a hotel with 2 guards to keep watch, but he disappeared from the room the following morning. It's actually insane how a normal real-life case was construed so much from people spreading misinformation online. I've already heard of this story from a lot of YouTubers, and I always thought it was legit and super weird. I was kinda bummed out to find that it came from fucking some tabloid in the 60s. This entry refers to another large stone monument located in Kashihara City in Nara, Japan. The stone is estimated to weigh about 800 tons and is about 11 meters in height, making it one of the largest megalithic structures in Japan. To this day, the purpose of the stone remains unclear, with some people speculating that it was used for a tomb or a burial site, while some think it served as a religious monument. While the precise age of the stone remains a mystery, it's thought to be from the Jomon period, or even earlier. In Japan, blood types are thought to be related to one's personality traits and romantic compatibility, similar to astrological signs in Western culture. For example, people with blood type A are considered to be diligent, responsible, and cautious, while those with blood type B are considered to be passionate, creative, and adventurous. The belief is still relevant to this day, with many considering one's blood type when dating, and in extreme cases, in job interviews. This entry refers to a UFO sighting from a Japanese airlines cargo flight in 1986. In November of that year, a Boeing 747 cargo plane flying from Paris to Narita Airport in Tokyo reported seeing unidentified objects while flying over Alaska. According to the crew, they observed two unidentified objects, one trailing the aircraft and one below it, for a total of 50 goddamn minutes. The crew reported that the objects were larger than any conventional aircraft would be and exhibited quite unusual and unpredictable movements. I really need to make like a 5-hour video on Alaska someday. For some reason, I've seen tons of spooky, unexplained shit happening there. If there are aliens, or if some cool hidden shit is happening, it's all in Alaska, unless that's just what they want us to think. Tomino's Hell refers to a popular Japanese urban legend about a poem called Tomino's Hell. You most likely already know of this image, but you may not know where it came from. The legend says that you should only read the poem in your mind and never out loud. If one does read it out loud, a ton of disturbing and tragic shit will happen to them. The original poem was written by Saijo Yaso in his 27 collection. While it's unknown where the rumor behind the poem came from, it was very popular on 2chan back in the day, with a bunch of users taking videos of them reading it and posting it to the forum. The majority of users would report that nothing happens, but a few would never post again and disappear from the site. Scary. Here's the poem if you want to read it. I am not responsible. If reading it gives your dog cancer or something, it's your choice. I mean, I read it out loud and nothing even happened. What the fuck was that? Akai Heya is another Japanese internet urban legend that translates to the Red Room Curse. According to the urban legend, while browsing the internet, the victim will be presented with a red pop-up with black text saying, "Do you like?" After trying to close the ad, the pop-up will reappear with the text now saying, "Do you like the Red Room?" The screen will then turn red, displaying a list of names of the Red Room's victims. The target will sense a mysterious presence behind them, after which they will lose consciousness. The victim will later be found dead in their home, with the walls of the room they were in painted with red blood. As you might know, red rooms are not a real thing, so there's nothing to worry about. Why is this down so far? I sort of mentioned it in the Japanese Lost Media Iceberg. Banger of a video, by the way, definitely watch it after this, but in case you haven't, I'll briefly explain it now. Jeff the Killer is a creepypasta about a character who is a noseless, clown-looking guy with a terrifying smile. As a child, I was fucking terrified of this guy. Both me and all my friends thought he was real and was out to get us. Fuck you, 2012 YouTube. Nowadays, the main discussion behind the creepypasta is around the image it's associated with. No one has a fucking clue where it comes from. It's clearly a person's face that's photoshopped, but we have no idea about the original image. The reason it's on this particular iceberg is because the first sighting of the image was on a Japanese media sharing site in 2005. The image was later reposted and spread all across 2chan, as well as a few other Japanese websites. I know I said I was close to finding it in an earlier video, but since then, my search has been a bit dormant. I still refuse to publish my findings though. I want the prize money from some ordinary gamers. This entry refers to the village of Nagoro, located on the island of Shikoku. While the village used to be quite populated and bustling back in the day, the village now only contains about 30 inhabitants. One of them is a lady named Ayano Tsukimi, a woman that moved back to the village to live with her father. When she returned to the village, only to see that it was almost abandoned, she came up with the idea to populate the village herself. No, she didn't do a Genghis Khan and have a ton of kids. Instead, she populated the village with life-size dolls made from fabric and newspaper. Epic. At the time of making this, there are a total of 350 dolls that populate the village, each one representing an inhabitant that has left the village or died. The whole purpose of the art piece, I guess you could call it, is to raise awareness about the abandonment of the Japanese countryside. Nagoro is only one of the countless villages that have been left behind. The main reason for this is quite obvious: employment. There's no shortage of work and money to be made in Japan's cities, so naturally they continue to draw people in from the countryside. Kune Kune, meaning wriggly body, is yet another Japanese urban legend that originated from the internet. Originating from around the year 2001, the Kune Kune is described as having a slender white paper or fabric-like humanoid shape and is said to randomly appear in fields on hot summer days. The name of the guy comes from its limbs that it likes to wriggle around. It's sort of like a skinny, wacky, waving inflatable tube man combined with a scarecrow. Many explain the alleged sightings of the guy for people just confusing it with scarecrows or wick drains. Sounds about right. Killing Stone refers to a rock located near a volcano in the Tochigi Prefecture, a place famous for its sulfuric hot springs. According to legend, the Killing Stone contains the transformed corpse of Tamamo no Mei, a beautiful woman that had been part of a secret plot hatched by a feudal warlord to kill Emperor Toba during the Heian period. What a fucking mouthful. Also according to the legend, the woman's true identity is that of a nine-tailed fox, whose spirit is embedded within the rock. In March of 2022, the Killing Stone mysteriously split into two, inducing widespread panic within the area, as according to the folklore, the stone continually spews poisonous gas, hence the name Killing Stone. While many thought that the demon spirit of the lady had been resurrected, the local media reported that the stone had started to see cracks several years prior, allowing rainwater to seep inside and weaken its structure. Spooky. I mean, I personally believe a 1,000-year-old demon is on the loose, but oh well. This entry refers to the insanely terrifying robotic monster dog that is located in the town of Takikawa, Hokkaido. The demon wolf was installed as a means of scaring away bears and other nuisance animals back into the wild. Not only does the thing look terrifying, but it also plays sounds that come straight from hell. Bears are a huge problem in rural Japan, with over 100 bear attacks recorded each year. From what I've read, the wolf seems to actually work, and the town has seen a decrease in bear sightings. I mean, I would just use a scarecrow or something, but hey, I guess a realistic hellhound that screams in pain works as well. Ino is a small town located in Fukushima Prefecture with a population of about 5,000. The town is quite famous for its fascination with UFOs. The town is home to Japan's first ever UFO lab, a lab where UFO scientists study and research UFOs. Not only that, but the town also has a museum dedicated to UFOs. Schizophrenia. Japanese haunted towns refers to Japanese towns that are haunted. Fucking idiot. According to Wikipedia, I know, I take my research very seriously. There are 4 towns in Japan that are nationally regarded to be haunted. Oboke Yokai Village in Tokushima Prefecture, a place that has an obsession with yokai, with its residents believing that the town is overrun with them. The town is also apparently the source of a ton of yokai legends. There's definitely something in the water they're drinking. Mizuji Shigeru is another haunted town in Sakai Minatori and is a street that contains a ton of statues of many different yokai. When the street was first built, there were about 23 statues, and now it contains 150. There's also Yokai Street in Kyoto, a place that has a bunch of stores that sell yokai-related products. Lastly, there's Yokaichi in Shiga Prefecture, a city that has become quite well off by publicizing yokai. The place is known for revitalizing yokai culture and recovering local history. Within Japan, dragon bones hold quite a lot of cultural and spiritual symbolism, considering, well, you know, the remains of a dragon. They're believed to be sources of unbelievable power, being able to protect against evil spirits and give good fortune to those who possess some. One such dragon bone is located in Chichinu in a temple named Hounji. This temple is also the home to the Claw of Tengu, another Japanese monster, as well as other supernatural artifacts. The bone is meant to be the chin of a dragon and is really small for some reason. Apparently the bone is actually from a fish. Epic. Hitogata is another entry that I covered in my Lost Japanese Media Iceberg. Seriously, you better fucking watch it after this. That is not a suggestion, that is an order. You most likely know about Hitogata. It's quite the popular topic on YouTube for some reason, but if not, I'll explain it. Hitogata is essentially an internet urban legend from 2chan about a lost PSA that was supposedly shown in schools. Either that or it was aired late at night on TV. People can't agree on that. The PSA was about railway safety and was quite surreal and off-putting, especially for the kids that it was shown to. To this day, the PSA hasn't been found, and it's unknown whether or not it actually exists. Considering the search has been going on for 10 years, I'm starting to doubt that it does. This entry refers to the theory that the Japanese word for thank you, arigato, actually comes from Portuguese. When you remember what I said about Japan and Brazil back in tier 3, it starts to make a bit of sense. Some people believe that it comes from the word obrigado, which means thank you in Portuguese. From what I've seen, there's no evidence for this, and it's most likely false. While there still are quite a few Japanese words that originate from Portuguese, arigato does not seem to be one of them. Japanese crop circles refers to the very strange crop circles that appear within the Miyazaki prefecture of southern Japan. These crop circles come in the form of Japanese cedar trees, growing in what looks like to be a man-made circle shape. From what I can find online, these crop circles are actually the result of an experiment that was conducted all the way back in 1973. For some complex agricultural reason, the forest was being used for experimental forestry, and one of the experiments involved planting trees in 10-degree radial increments in order to form 10 circles. Why the fuck they would do that? I have no idea, but it looks pretty cool. Mothman at Fukushima refers to a story that was posted online in 2011 by a guy named David. Apparently before the Fukushima plant disaster, Dave was in Fukushima visiting his Japanese friend who lived there. The two went out for a night of drinking, and Dave's friend suggests that they should go look at a power plant because he was doing some student experiment there. While at the power plant, the two saw a giant creature with huge black wings and red glowing eyes flying around. David suggested that the creature was Mothman, a popular American cryptid. What is quite insane is that this guy posted the story literally less than a week after the Fukushima disaster. If this guy is making up the story, which he probably is, this man has zero respect for what happened. If his story is real, then what does that mean? Did Mothman sabotage the power plant? But Mothman has only been sighted in America. Does that mean the American government hired Mothman to attack Fukushima? Probably not. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm so fucking tired. Red QR codes refers to the Japanese urban legend that warns people not to scan red QR codes. Apparently, if you do so, you will be shown a video that shows your own death. The death is often quite tragic and super gruesome in nature. According to the legend, these mysterious red QR codes are found graffitied onto telegraph poles in hidden alleyways and in other strange locations. You already know if I find a red QR code, I'm scanning that shit so quick. Japanese bird people refers to a Google Street View anomaly found in Western Tokyo. The Street View photo shows a group of people wearing pigeon masks, staring at the camera. The exact same thing was found again, later inside of a Tokyo cafe. As the first photo was taken at the Musashino Art University, it's thought that these photos are just a set of pranks performed by the students of the art school. Nah, that's definitely not it. Tokyo is infested with bird people. That's the only explanation. Touchable holograms refers to the University of Tokyo's project called the Haptoclone that someday will make it possible for holograms to detect the touch of our hands and other objects. Haptoclone uses a method called telehaptic, through which the image of an object inserted into a device can be sent to another device, creating the illusion of touching the hologram. I honestly have no idea how the fuck that works. I'm just reading what I found online. The program has been running for almost 10 years and no major advancements have been made since then. Remote-controlled cyborg cockroaches is exactly what it sounds like. In 2022, a bunch of researchers made a bunch of cyborg cockroaches that could be remote controlled. The goal of this is to be able to use them to inspect hazardous areas and monitor the environment. As you might know, cockroaches are super durable and can survive under quite extreme conditions. They've been making some pretty promising progress and aim to put them into action quite soon. Deno Senshi Porygon refers to the famous Japanese television moment when the original Pokemon cartoon triggered epileptic seizures in the brains of innocent Japanese children watching their favorite anime on a Tuesday night in 1997. Epic. Apparently more than 600 children were taken to hospital. Good work. As a result of the incident, the episode was pulled from air and has not been aired since. This was talked about all the way back in tier 2. Why the fuck is it down here? Tree burials refers to the increasing trend in Japan of burying your loved ones next to trees. During the 1970s, the public were concerned as there was a lack of adequate burial space in urban areas. This led to people burying their loved ones in rural areas, meaning that they would need to travel long distances to go and visit their burial site. Since 1999, the Shonji Temple in northern Japan has tried to offer a better solution to this crisis through the act of tree burials. In these burials, families place their loved ones' cremated remains in the ground, and a tree is planted over the ashes to mark the gravesite. The Fiji mermaid refers to a fake mermaid that was made by sewing the torso and head of a monkey onto half of a fish. Who in the fuck would display this abomination to the general public? Well, it was none other than the world's greatest showman, P.T. Barnum. Barnum told people that the mermaid had been caught near the Fiji Islands and was 100% real. Apparently, the mermaid had been bought from a group of Japanese sailors in 1882 for $6,000. After having a naturalist examine the mermaid, he told Barnum what it really was, and that it obviously wasn't a fucking mermaid. Despite knowing this, he exhibited the mermaid at Barnum's American Museum in New York in 1842, but it ended up disappearing, likely being destroyed in a fire. Maybe that was for the best. The Daito Pyramid refers to a strange pyramid located in Kita-Daito in Okinawa, Japan. I couldn't find much information on this, but according to Google reviews of the place, the pyramid was made by piling up rubble left over from the construction of a nearby fishing port. Apparently the top of the pyramid is littered with industrial waste, however it does have a good view from the top. Why is this down so far? If you have even the slightest interest in Japan, you probably already know that Japan has a tradition of eating KFC around the Christmas holidays. Apparently the tradition started when Takeshi Okawara, the CEO of KFC Japan at the time, went to a Christmas party dressed as Santa. He saw how much the children loved it and it gave him a business idea. Since then, KFC has been forced into advertising and various other means in order to make fried chicken Japan's signature Christmas dish. Once again, we truly live in a society. We are now at tier 6 and we are getting very deep underwater. As you would expect, the entries in this tier are completely insane and illogical. Get ready. This entry refers to the theory that Genghis Khan was actually Japanese. Genghis Khan was a Mongolian emperor and the leader that founded the Mongol Empire in the early 13th century. You probably know all about him. He was quite a stand-up guy. While there's no evidence at all that I could find proving this, I did find out that some Japanese historians believe that Genghis Khan was actually Minamoto no Yoshitsune, who was a Japanese general. This theory was disproven all the way back in 1879 in a book, but some people still believe it for some reason. Yasuke refers to an African man that came to Japan during the Sengoku period and served as a sword bearer for the noble Oda Nobunaga for about 3 years. Historians believe that Yasuke was the oldest African to appear in Japanese historical records. Apparently he ended up in Japan while traveling with some Italian missionaries. The missionaries requested a meeting with the most powerful man in Japan, Oda Nobunaga. Apparently Nobunaga had always wanted to see a black man, so Yasuke went with the missionaries to visit visit him. Also, apparently Nobunaga refused to believe that Yasuke's skin was actually black and not some form of makeup, so he made him take his clothes off to prove himself. He thought that he might be covered in ink, so he made him wash and scrub himself. After he scrubbed and scrubbed, it was only then that the noble believed him. That is actually wild. Nobunaga really took a liking to the man and took him in as a retainer and gave him the Japanese name Yasuke. Later in 1582, Nobunaga was betrayed and attacked by his senior, Akechi Mitsuhide. Due to this, Nobunaga ended his own life. After his lord's tragic death, Yasuke went to his residence and he attacked the Akechi forces, avenging his lord's death. Yasuke eventually surrendered his sword, and Akechi, thinking he was an animal that didn't know anything, let him go. Yikes. Historians know that he lived for quite some time afterwards, but it's still unknown what he got up to. What a fucking insane story. They even made an anime based off it. This entry refers to when archaeologists found ancient Roman coins in the ruins of an old castle in Okinawa. Back in 2016, while excavating Katsuren Castle, a World Heritage Site in Okinawa, archaeologists found a total of 10 ancient coins that appeared to be Roman. After examining the coins with X-ray technology, it was found that the coins were even older than Roman coins. It's believed that because Katsuren Castle had trade relations with a lot of Asia, some trader that was visiting the castle probably sold the coins or accidentally left them behind. Kofun, meaning ancient grave, are giant megalithic tombs that can be found in Northeast Asia. However, most of them are located in Japan. They're believed to have been built between the middle of the 3rd century to the middle of the 6th century, so a very fucking long time ago. A lot of them were shaped like giant keyholes, with the largest one being located in Sakai, Osaka, in which the city is built around it. As of 2001, there has been a total of 161,560 kofuns found. That's a lot of dead people. Hunan blood refers to the importance of blood within Japanese society. In Japan, there is a concept that the rating of how pure someone is, or how Japanese a person is based off their blood. Additionally, it refers to how the blood type of a person can affect one's personality, which was its own entry on the iceberg, so I don't know why it's here again. Kisaragi Station is a Japanese urban legend that revolves around a fictitious train station. According to the legend, Kisaragi Station is a mysterious haunted train station that only appears on certain days, most often in February, during the month of Kisarage, which is the 2nd month of the lunar calendar. There's a ton of stories that are based around the legend, with most of them involving ghost passengers and slipping through time and reality. Most versions of the legend suggest that when you board a train from the station, you could be transported to an otherworldly place and experience a ton of spooky and crazy shit. Sounds about right. Japan's missing sanitarians refers to the large population of elderly Japanese people that simply do not exist. According to an article made in 2010, at the time there was a total of 230,000 elderly Japanese residents that were missing. The reason for this is quite complex and varies on case to case. One reason is due to the relatives of these missing sanitarians. In some cases, they will hide the death of their elderly loved ones in order to pocket pension money paid by the Japanese government. However, with most cases, it's caused by the unreliability of Japan's family registry, which records all births and deaths. This entry is rather depressing and shocking, so if you don't feel like having your day ruined, skip to the next entry. Hiroshima Shadows refers to the black shadows of humans and objects scattered across Hiroshima and Nagasaki that were left behind by the nuclear blast in each city. According to the science, when each bomb exploded, the intense light and heat spread out from the point of the implosion. Objects and people that were in its path shielded objects behind them by absorbing the light and energy. The surrounding light bleached the concrete and stone around the shadow. So what you're actually looking at when you see one of these shadows is how the area looked before the nuclear blast. Taxi ghost passengers refers to the large number of rumors around Japan's coastal towns surrounding ghosts appearing in taxi seats. Apparently, these ghost spottings were all from around the same time in the same area in 2011, right after the Tohoku region experienced a tragic tsunami. The ghosts that were spotted during this time were suspected to be victims from the natural disaster that were stuck in limbo. Apparently, the taxi drivers that experienced the appearance of these ghosts weren't too bothered by it and treated them like regular customers. Gozu refers to another Japanese urban legend surrounding a creature named Gozu, which roughly translates to cow head. As you could guess, Gozu is a naked man with a cow head. Apparently, the urban legend is so terrifying that just telling it can cause supernatural events to occur. The Japanese government deemed the story too dangerous and burned all copies of the original text to avoid people dying of fright. With only a few copies of the story remaining, they were cut up and distributed around Japan. The urban legend follows a high school teacher that managed to get a fragment of the original story. The teacher reportedly took his students on field trips where he would entertain them with ghost stories along the way. On one of these trips, the teacher told them the forbidden tale of the cow head, but before he could even finish the first sentence of the story, the students began to panic, yelling at him to stop reading. Apparently after this, the teacher's eyes became white, and he proceeded to tell the whole story as if he was possessed by the spirit. After an hour or so, the man regained consciousness and realized that the bus had fallen into a ditch. All of his students had passed out, and they had foam coming from their mouths, while the driver was lying on the wheel, sweating and shaking. That's the story. It's pretty anticlimactic, if you ask me. Tariya no Masakoro was a magnate and samurai during the Heian period that's known for leading the rebellion against the central government at the time. In 939 AD, he declared himself as the new emperor and led a revolt against the authorities in Kyoto, seeking greater autonomy for the eastern provinces. Despite the rebellion's successes at the start, the rebellion was eventually stopped by the government, and Masakado was killed in battle. Despite his death, he would end up becoming a symbol of resistance to authority throughout Japan. Micro UFOs refers to another UFO spotting in August of 1972 in Yuriya town, Koichi City, on Shikoku Island. What the fuck is it with Japan and UFOs? God damn. On the said date, a 13-year-old junior high school student was walking home from school as per normal. That was until he passed a rice field and saw what looked like a disc hovering over it. According to the kid's description, the UFO looked just like a silver hat. Once he noticed the UFO, it suddenly started to fly towards his general direction. In shock and scared for his life, the kid rushed home to tell people what he saw. Later that night, a few people returned to the rice field to see the UFO hovering there once again. They didn't see the UFO again until the next month in September, where they saw it at the rice field again, hovering close to the ground. One of the kids was able to take a picture of the UFO. Apparently in the photo, the area was pitch black, but the flying object was emitting a bright white light. Later in the month, a kid picked the thing up and brought it home, where people studied the size and weight of it. The object looked like a tiny silver hat with a bunch of weird symbols engraved on the bottom of it. Apparently when they weren't looking, the UFO would keep escaping and returning to the rice fields, where the kids would go capture it again, only for it to escape again. The kids eventually opened it up to see that it contained some electronic parts, but they didn't really care about it and just put it back together. I got all of this information from this poorly translated Chinese gossip website, so take all of this with a grain of salt. After that, the article doesn't say anything about what happened to the UFO. It must have gotten lost or something. Other than this article, I can't find shit about the story. It's most likely a hoax. The whole story is fucking insane. Alien cosmonaut refers to another alien sighting where in 1975 a Japanese man managed to take photos of an alleged alien. In March of 1975, a man by the name of Giichi Shiota was at a landfill in Kawanoe on the island of Shikoku. Not only does this take place just 3 years after the last story, but it takes place in the same area. Interesting. According to the man's report, he saw a glowing, suit-clad figure that seemed to be suspended in mid-air. He estimated that the alien cosmonaut was hovering almost 7 feet off the ground, about 300 feet away from him. Apparently, after seeing the man, he immediately developed a headache. After witnessing the figure, Shiota became obsessed with the idea of capturing it on film in order to prove to people that he wasn't lying or insane. With this determination, Shiota started returning to the scene every single night, equipped with 3 different cameras. Finally, after a full week of hanging around a landfill, he was stricken with another sudden headache. After looking up, he saw what he described as a bluish-white electrical disturbance floating about 300 feet in front of him. After looking at the cloud-like formation for several minutes, he saw a 6-foot-tall figure appear from the disturbance. Once again, the figure was hovering about 1 foot off the ground, and he started to glide towards Shiota. Although he was in immense shock and panic, he still managed to take some photos of the figure. The figure had closed the distance between the two about halfway when it suddenly steered to the right. The figure then started zooming for about 30 feet and then disappeared. I don't know, something fishy was going on in Shikoku Island in the 70s. Goku and Frieza Go to KFC the movie is another piece of Japanese lost media that I covered in an iceberg already. Apparently, there was a direct-to-DVD Dragon Ball and KFC crossover movie released in 2004. The movie followed the aftermath of a battle between Goku and Frieza, in which Goku and the crew go to celebrate at a nearby KFC, but Frieza doesn't go because he is a Taco Bella and hates KFC. I want to die. I've been searching for this movie for about a year now, so yeah. I think it might be fake. I think someone saw the KFC Dragon Ball ad and then posted some fanfiction to the Lost Media wiki. That would make the most sense. Kugo refers to Japan's top secret weapon that was inspired by Nikola Tesla's death ray. During the arms race in World War II, Nikola Tesla managed to invent a death ray that he called the Teleforce. Apparently, the weapon was able to make an enormous amount of electricity, somewhere around 60 million volts, and could shoot down planes at a distance of 322 kilometers or 200 miles, which is fucking insane. Because such a machine would be huge and immobile, it was designed to be used as a defensive weapon only, with the goal of making all war futile. Despite how cool the idea was, his proposal for the machine was shut down, as the US Bureau of Standards thought that it was impossible to produce such a huge amount of electricity, even though, you know, it was Nikola Tesla, and he probably could have done it. After this, the British tried to make their own death ray, which actually resulted in the invention of the radar. Also, the Soviet Union tried to make one, but they were unable to get a hold of Tesla's plans. Somehow, Japan was able to catch wind of the idea, and General Yamamoto requested Japanese physicist Yoji Ito to look into making the weapon. Ito and his team came to the same conclusion as America did, stating that it was just impossible to make that much energy. During that time, Japan had already been working on magnetrons as part of their radar research. So, Ito decided that they would make a weapon that shoots high-powered beams of radio signal. The tests conducted with the weapon went pretty well, and they managed to kill animals with it from short ranges, as well as damage exposed engines. They planned to make an even bigger version of the weapon that could kill a rabbit in 10 minutes from a distance of 1 kilometer or 62 miles. However, with Japan's situation during the war, they ended up stopping the research. To this day, this weapon is the closest that anyone has gotten to creating a giant death ray. So fucking cool. Jindai Moji meaning characters of the age of the gods, are characters that are said to have been used in ancient Japan. Apparently, proof of these characters have been found in archaeological remains, in Kofun tombs, and on mountains. However, a lot of them have been proven to be fake. The characters are believed to have been used by the Jomon and the Ainu, the two groups of people in ancient Japan. They were apparently used by both groups before the introduction of kanji from China. Similar to kanji, the Jindai Moji are pictographic, with each symbol representing an object, concept, or sound. While there's a ton of theories that interpret the meaning of these symbols, to this day, they haven't been fully deciphered. Origami Spaceship refers to a page on the NASA website that teaches you how to make a Starshade satellite model out of paper. Why the fuck is this down so far? Better yet, why the fuck is this even on the iceberg? Blasted asteroid refers to the time that Japan blasted an asteroid. In December of 2014, Japan launched the Hayabusa 2 mission that aimed to study an asteroid called Ryugu and bring back samples to Earth for analysis. In April 2019, Hayabusa 2 deployed an explosive device towards the surface of the asteroid. The device, as planned, exploded and made a large crater, exposing subsurface material for study. The maneuver was actually quite groundbreaking and allowed scientists to analyze the pristine samples hidden underneath the asteroid's surface. Kiyotaki Tunnel is a tunnel running between Arashiyama and Saga Kiyotaki in Kyoto Prefecture. The reason it's on this iceberg is because it has a reputation for being one of, if not the most haunted location in Japan. There's a ton of different Japanese tunnels that are haunted, but this one is by far considered to be the most haunted one. The tunnel was abandoned all the way back in 1944 and has quite some disturbing history around it. Apparently, it was home to railway incidents, tragic deaths, executions, and even in ancient times, a warrior died in a battle long ago in the exact same spot that the tunnel was built. Since its closure, there's been countless stories of spooky things that occur inside the tunnel. If this video reaches 10,000 likes, I will travel to Japan and walk very slowly through the tunnel without a torch or anything. I am not joking. I will. Go on, like the video. You won't. Saki Sonobashi refers to the lost anime of a group of schoolgirls locked in a room that go sicko mode and end each other. I've actually made 2 videos already on this topic. One got deleted and gets flagged when I try to upload it. Epic. But yeah, it's fake. Myself and countless others have been searching for this shit for so damn long and have found fuck all, so yeah. Even someone claiming to be the person behind the rumor said it was fake. So there you have it. My disappointment is immeasurable. Sunflowers clean radiation refers to how, when in full bloom, sunflowers can clean radiation. As you know, in 2011, Fukushima faced a tragic earthquake and tsunami, causing a local plant to leak radiation into the surrounding area. To this day, the Fukushima exclusion zone remains contaminated, and the majority of the population has still yet to return. As this entry states, sunflowers can apparently rid their surrounding soil of radiation, or at least decrease its effects. Due to this, there has been a massive effort to plant thousands of sunflowers to extract the radiation in the soil around Fukushima. The campaign has managed to actually have an effect on radiation levels in the soil, and has lifted the spirits of the locals. This entry refers to a type of ice cream you can buy in Japan that does not melt. It works by adding polyphenol liquid to the cream, allowing it to retain its shape for a long amount of time. Apparently, the polyphenol makes it difficult for the water and oil to separate, making it harder for the ice cream to melt. Cool. I'm glad science is actually being used for something useful. An odachi, meaning long sword, is a type of traditional Japanese sword that was used by samurai during feudal Japan. I also have no fucking idea why it is down this far. In order to qualify as an odachi, a sword would have to be almost a whole fucking meter in size. You know those giant katanas in Monster Hunter? Well, that's basically what an odachi is. Cool, real interesting shit. Kongo Gumi is a Japanese construction company that was founded all the way back in 570 AD, making it the oldest company in the whole world. The family-run construction company is headquartered in Osaka and has been running for over 1,400 fucking years. To this day, the company continues operation through the descendants of the original founder and is owned by a subsidiary of the Takumatsu Construction Group. This entry refers to the time when scientists found a kofun on the planet Mars. Remember the kofun entry all the way back at the start of this tier? Those big key-shaped tombs where they used to bury people. Well, in 2011, a Mars orbiter captured clear imagery of a stone formation on Mars that looks identical to a kofun. Obviously, it's just a cool coincidence, right? Not much to scoff at. Well, no. See, back in ancient Japan, a group of scientists actually built a rocket and landed on Mars, where they found this really cool looking stone formation. After seeing the structure, they got super inspired and went back to Earth to replicate what they saw in the form of making tombs for nobles. Isn't that crazy? I'm sorry, I just have to state that was all false information. If I don't, I will be terminated for spreading misinformation. Everything I just said was bullshit. It was all a lie. Chochin Obake is a Japanese yokai that translates to paper lantern ghost. The yokai is a paper lantern that contains a slit for a mouth with a giant tongue poking out. My boy is looking mighty thirsty. Although the Chochin Obake is a pretty famous yokai, there's almost no legends in any area of Japan about it, so they're classified as a yokai that exists only in pictures. Damn, give my boy some justice. Someone please just come up with an urban legend about him. It's so simple, even I can do it. The Chochin Obake is known to lurk around ancient shrines at midnight. If you ever travel to a shrine and the clock strikes 12, there's a good chance that these freaky paper lanterns will appear. Once the lantern has found its victim, it's known to lick them to death. See how fucking easy it is? This entry refers to a machine invented in Japan that can literally read people's minds. Made by the Toyohashi University of Technology, the machine can supposedly read people's minds by detecting their brainwaves. The machine has a 90% success rate when attempting to recognize what number a person is thinking of between 0 and 9, and a 61% success rate for single syllables in Japanese. While the machine still has quite far to go, the scientists stated back in 2017 that in 5 years the device would be available to the public with the use of a smartphone app. I mean, it's been 7 years and I've only just heard about this, so it's probably unlikely that it went anywhere. The Hibagon is a Japanese cryptid that is essentially the Japanese equivalent of Bigfoot. Since the 1970s, a few sightings of the creature have been reported around Mount Hiba in Hiroshima Prefecture. The Hibagon is described as a black creature with white hands and big feet, and is about 5 feet tall, sort of like a gorilla. According to a sighting from 1972, the creature has a chocolate brown face and is covered with brown hair, so it's probably a gorilla. How it got into the mountains, I don't know, but he's definitely up to some monkey business. I know if I was on some Japanese mountain and I saw a giant gorilla, I would go bananas. I'm so fucking sorry. Yoshiro Nakamatsu is a 95-year-old Japanese inventor. He's known for inventing over 3,500 thingamabobs. and various wacky doohickeys of silly nature. This absolute legend claims to hold the world record for holding the most patents, yet most sources don't even recognize him or even acknowledge his existence. Give my boy some justice. I'd like to see you invent 3,500 goofy thingamajigs and funny doodads. Let me give you some examples of the cool shit that he's made. An NRX, a system that can be used for generating hydrogen and oxygen. A pion, a pair of fucking jumping shoes. A toilet seat lifter. That actually sounds pretty useful. A device that looks like a cigarette that can supposedly activate the brain. I don't know what that means, but it sounds fucking cool, and I want to try it. What a living legend. The kissing wireless machine refers to a machine that was invented in a Japanese lab in 2011. The device apparently allows the user to French kiss someone over the internet. And when I say kiss, I mean wiggle your tongue around on a bit of plastic. The movement of the plastic makes another bit of plastic wiggle remotely onto someone else's tongue. Kinda hot, not gonna lie. Just don't let this technology get into the hands of Discord and Reddit mods. That could end very badly. We have now reached tier 7, the second deepest tier of the iceberg. As you would guess, the majority of these upcoming entries are quite insane and wild, so get ready. This entry refers to the time in 2015 where Japan officially made Godzilla a citizen of Japan. I told you, insane. After realizing the significance that Godzilla had on Japan and its culture, the city of Tokyo officially made him a resident. On his official citizen certificate, Godzilla's address has been made to Shinjuku, Kabukicho, 1191, where the famous Godzilla head is located, and the date of his birth is marked as April 9th, 1954, which is the date when the first Godzilla movie began production. The reason for this absolute buffoonery was to promote the Japanese entertainment industry. This is actually so dumb. Godzilla destroyed Tokyo on multiple occasions and killed millions of people. You're really just gonna forgive him like that? Forgiving him for his war crimes is one thing, but granting him citizen status? That's fucking nonsense. Food replication refers to the machine that is currently being developed by Team Open Meals in Japan. The company seeks to create a machine that can recreate the look and taste of food that has been scanned and analyzed for flavor and texture. As of now though, the technology has quite a ways to go. The machine is only able to print pixelated food that's made out of gelatin cubes that somewhat resembles the outline and taste of the scanned food. While it's not much, it's still pretty cool. It's like a 3D printer for food. This entry refers to the theory that the first American people came from Japan. For quite some time, scientists suspected that the Native American people were related to the Jomon people. The main reason behind this was due to the archaeological materials that were found on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. However, after inspecting and comparing teeth and skeletal remains of both people, the theory was disproven. This entry refers to the lost episode of the Cyborg Kuro-chan anime from the early 2000s. This was yet another entry on the last Japanese iceberg, so yeah, Bazinga, penis. The episode that went missing was episode 66 and was eventually found after it got uploaded to a YouTube channel called Nodo TV in 2018. Wow, thank God it got found. I don't know what I would have done if episode 66 of Cyborg Kuro-chan was still missing. I think this entry refers to this shitpost that was made. At least that's what is linked on the iceberg. It's just misinformation, so yeah. Japan is in fact not Serbia. Japan did not give Hiroshima and Nagasaki to Serbia. Why the fuck would they do that? I would make another joke about this being real, but I've already made a misinformation joke so far in this video. This entry refers to the theory that the Japanese people made up a large majority of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. If you don't know, the 10 lost tribes of Israel were a group of tribes that were deported from the Kingdom of Israel all the way back in 700 BCE. To this day, their fate and exact whereabouts remains a mystery, as historical documents from around the time are quite limited. This theory suggests that the members of one or more of these tribes migrated far east and eventually settled in Japan. However, this theory is quite far-fetched and lacks quite a bit of substantial evidence. It's a largely speculative theory, and the majority of historians reject it. As you'll see later in the video though, this theory is a fucking rabbit hole. Self-mummification refers to the group of Japanese monks named Soku Shinbutsu who, for some spiritual reason, turned themselves into mummies while they were alive. Yikes. If you know what the process of mummification entails, then yeah, ew. This practice mainly took place in northern Japan from the 11th to the 19th century and was done in order to achieve enlightenment. The monks would follow a very strict diet and meditation schedule in order to preserve their bodies while still alive. This would ultimately end up in them being entombed in a small underground chamber in which they would meditate until they died. God damn. As you would guess, the practice became outlawed in the 19th century due to its health risks. UFO Boy is yet another story of a UFO sighting from Japan. Haruya Ido, or the UFO Boy, is a teenager from Japan that can apparently use telepathy to sense when and where a UFO will appear. In the year 2018, he took a total of 4 UFO images from all across Japan. Past 2018, I couldn't find any information on the kid. Maybe he got abducted by aliens or something. In my humble opinion, these photos just look like he threw his shoe up in the sky and snapped a photo of it falling in midair. But hey, could be aliens. This entry refers to the fucking insane stem cell research that's going on in Japan regarding human-animal hybrids. In 2019, the Japanese government gave approval and funding to biologist Hiromitsu Nakauchi to pursue human-animal embryo experiments. The whole goal of these experiments are to produce organs that can be used for patients in need of a transplant. Imagine that shit, a fucking organ factory. As of 2019, their goal was for the embryo of a rat to use human stem cells to build a pancreas, and for 2 years the researchers would watch the rat grow and develop. After this, they would then ask for approval to do the same with pigs. Since 2019, I couldn't find any more info on the topic. Either they failed or they haven't made any public announcements. It's probably just my research skills. I fucking suck. This entry refers to the notion that samurai had access to supernatural powers. In 2019, the samurai text, The 12 Rules of the Sword, was fully translated and revealed a secret sword fighting school that had mastered a technique that seemed to give one supernatural powers. Dating back to the 17th century, the text contains knowledge passed down from a samurai named Ito Itosai, who fought and won an insane 33 duels. The 12 Rules of the Sword describes the rules for beating an opponent, as well as 2 magical prayers that can be used to enhance a samurai's spirit and mind. The 2 magical prayers are quite ambiguous and hard to understand. One of them states that a samurai should draw several Sanskrit characters on their palms. The samurai then joins their palms together, says a prayer, and rotates their hands 1 time, making a loud sound before clapping their hands once and rubbing them together. This is literally some fucking Naruto bullshit. This guy was out here doing ninjutsu. The prayer was meant to strengthen your body and mind, improving your potential in combat. If anything, it would have given them like a sort of placebo effect, increasing their focus. I don't know if it was supernatural. God damn it, finally. We made it to the final tier, tier 8. We are now at the ocean floor, and these last entries are really something. There's only 3 entries in this tier, and they all sort of relate to the same topic, so I'm sort of gonna combine them into one entry. The first entry is titled Ark of the Covenant in Japan. This one sort of builds off the entry from before, saying that the lost tribes of Israel migrated to Japan. The iceberg links to this very long website discussing why this is the case. that was made by a Japanese Christian writer. For example, he compares the similarities of the Ark of the Covenant with Omikoshi, a portable shrine that is carried during festivals in Japan. He also compares the similarities between the crest of the Imperial House of Japan and the crest that can be found on the Gate of Jerusalem. He compares how a Japanese priest would put a black box on their foreheads, just as Jewish people would do. He compares the robes of Japanese priests to those worn by Israeli priests as they were described in the Bible. These are just a few of the many pieces of evidence presented by this one guy. There's a lot more. If I really went down the rabbit hole, I would be talking for hours about this. The second entry is titled Jesus Died in Japan and suggests, you guessed it, that Jesus, the Son of God, died in the country of Japan, not Jerusalem. And the third and final entry of this tier is titled The Tomb of Christ, which refers to the location in which Jesus was buried. This is a real thing that a small group of people in Japan believe, in the town of Shingo in Aomori. There's been a few videos of people visiting this supposed burial site, so you might already know about this, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. For some reason, the town of Shingo, located in Aomori Prefecture, believed that when Jesus was in his early 20s, he visited Japan to pursue knowledge of divinity for a total of 12 goddamn years. At the age of 33, Jesus then went all the way back to Judea to continue his mission. After he was arrested and they tried to crucify the poor fella, his younger brother, Isukiri, took his place on the cross for him. Yes, apparently Jesus wasn't crucified. It was his Japanese brother, Isukiri. Epic. After closely escaping his death, Jesus then settled in Shingo and lived there till he died at the age of 106. It is in that village, on top of a hill, where Jesus is actually buried, under a mound of dirt with a cross on top. I honestly don't know what to make of this. As you might guess, I'm not religious, and yeah, this could be true, or this could be a ton of hoopla. I have no idea. I haven't read the Torah, the Bible, whatever the fuck it's called. It's a bit insane how Jesus just supposedly traveled all the way from Jerusalem to Japan twice. Seems like quite the distance. I honestly could make a video just about this topic. It's a massive rabbit hole and there's tons of coincidences linking Jerusalem to Japan. It's really interesting. So that was the Japanese obscure oddity iceberg. What a fucking mixed bag of an iceberg. Some tiers would have some insane shit that I've never heard of, and then next to it there would be an entry about how Japanese people eat KFC during the holidays. Thank you all for watching this video. As always, it means a lot to me if you did. There's so much stuff out there on YouTube to watch, and I'm very glad that you chose me. If you did enjoy me rambling about super boring shit for a large amount of time, make sure to like and subscribe and comment. It helps me out a ton. I also want to shout out all my amazing Patreon members. I love all of you. Thank you Mrs. Mayo, Gage Mendon, Too Funny Too Cool, and Bunny Walk. You are the best. Also, if you want to join my Discord, feel free to. I promise you won't be groomed. The first 100 members will receive a super special epic rank. Make sure you don't miss out. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'm Kappa Dance, and I'm hiding under your bed.